Yes, indeedy do. And by the way, the supreme leader of Iran, the man that we're going to be trusting if we sign a deal, you heard Fred Fleitz allude to when he was being interviewed earlier in the last segment that they have just said some very unflattering things about Israel. Well, one of the things that he called Israel was a dog. Now, it just, am I surprised? No, John Kerry and Barack Obama probably whispering in his ear, yeah, dirty dog. You left out dirty dog. How on earth do you make a deal with a country that is still killing your own soldiers in Afghanistan? Still doing it. Has blood on their hands dating back decades. And is calling the country that used to be your main ally. That's what this country's come to. And that's foreign policy. You know what happened today domestically, and we talk right now and joined by our friend John Lott, of course, economist, columnist, and author of Dumbing Down the Courts, How Politics Keeps the Smartest Judges Off the Bench. Hello, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, my gosh. How could you ask that question?
It's pretty depressing.
Oh, no matter where you look, no matter where you turn your head, our way of life, whether it's our strength, our foreign policy, our rights, the way we do business in the Senate now, it's over.
Yeah, I have to say, last fall, when the unemployment numbers came out and they were showing the improvement, I got calls from some people in the media, and I said, it's just impossible. I can't believe somebody would go and doctor those because you can't keep that quiet. Eventually it come out, and to go and have it so that the government would be actually falsifying the unemployment numbers, I just thought that would bring down an administration just by itself. But, it's just one more story added on and everything else right now.
No, it didn't even get any coverage. They're more interested in the mayor of Toronto. They didn't care than what Crudell wrote in the New York Post. He has documentation. He has the guy on the record. He has the guy's name, the man who said he did it, and nobody cares.
Yeah, well, as I say, I just found it impossible to believe that something would happen. That's what I told the press in the fall, just because it seemed to me that the fallout would destroy anybody. But, I was wrong on both counts.
Yeah, all right, let's talk about this. You wrote the book. We had John. Great book, great points, great information. And now we have this nuclear option, which has been talked about. We have Barack Obama in 2006, I think, saying that they better not, the Republicans better not do the nuclear option. We have Joe Biden on tape, which I haven't played yet, saying that when he was a senator, saying that he hopes that the Democrats, when they're in the majority, never blow up the Senate and use the nuclear option because it's a power grab. And now, of course, Harry Reid has done it. What is this going to mean? Go ahead. I'm ready for more bad news. What is this going to mean for the D.C. court that they're trying to stock? I mean, there's no way to stop them from stocking it now, right?
No, it's just not the D.C. court. It's going to be all the court appointments, and you're going to have a lot more extreme nominees than we've had so far. Look, it's just hilarious. I mean, you talk about quotes 8-9 years apart. The president can't even keep quotes 2 weeks apart consistent. Today he's talking about how unusual and the obstruction has been by the Republicans. Just a couple weeks ago at a fundraiser in Texas, he was bragging about remaking the courts. He was talking about how, in addition to the Supreme Court, we've been able to nominate and confirm judges of extraordinary quality all across the country on federal benches. We've actually, when it comes to district court, matching the pace of previous presidents. When it comes to the appellate court, we're just a little bit behind, and we're just going to have to keep focusing on it. I mean, to be honest, when you look at it, he has been much better at getting people on the court than George Bush had. George Bush got 72% of his appointments to the circuit court confirmed. Obama's gotten 85% during his first term confirmed. And today he's talking about how nobody's had such a difficult time getting judges confirmed to the courts, and yet you have this statement just a couple weeks ago where
he bragged,
and but what's going to happen is during the Bush administration, they just refused to confirm people, and so there were these empty seats that came in when Obama became president, and now they're just going to be able to appoint people to all sorts of positions, and he already has appointed over half the judiciary. And, there's going to be no president in modern history that's appointed such a large share of judges as Obama's going to be able to appoint by the end of his term.
We're talking to John Lott. Yeah, that's a very scary thought. Very, very scary. Now, we had Andy McCarthy on earlier, and he said that, of course, if the House and the Congress wanted to go down this road, and I don't think they would anyway, but I don't think they will now, especially because they feel they have the upper hand heading into midterms with the healthcare debacle. But certainly these courts don't have to exist, don't need to exist, and have no right to exist. It's all pre-dependent upon whether or not they're funded by the Congress, and the Congress could cut off the funding for these courts. But like I said, that would involve another government shutdown, and that would possibly make them the villain, and I don't think they're going to go that route.
Yeah, I mean, that would be very difficult and costly to shut down whole courts. But look, I mean, you look at these guys that Obama's been putting on there, the ones that there's been these filibusters, and they're pretty left-wing. She's a law professor at Georgetown. She thinks that the anti-discrimination laws, the federal discrimination laws, should apply to religious organizations' selection of who their religious leaders are. So if you are a Catholic church and you have male priests, she seems to think that that's a federal discrimination issue.
It is insane. And then, of course, if he could get the Supreme Court, if he could get another one or two on the Supreme Court or tip the balance there.
Well, just one. Just one. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's right. It would have to be the right one. I mean, to tip the balance, and then all these lunatics who will be there for life will have Obama's policies in place, and there'll be nothing we could do about it. It's just insane.
Well, you have Scalia and Kennedy are going to be over 80 years of age at the end of the Obama administration. There's a good chance that they won't make it till then, at least one of the two. And, of course, if the Democrats win the presidency, it's extremely unlikely that these guys are going to make it to their mid to late 80s.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And when it comes to pressure, there are a lot of people who ask me the question, and I'll just repeat it to you. The question is, what did Obama have on Justice Roberts, to get him to change his vote? And I say, I have no idea. Anything is possible in this administration, and, I wouldn't put it past anything that I find out that they did to get someone to retire or get someone to change or get someone off the bench. Nothing would shock me.
Yeah, well, it's sad that we even talk about these things, but, when you have the government spying on everybody,
that's it.
I suppose, I can't even believe. Look, 10 years ago, the things that we're beginning to just accept, people would think you were nuts to even go and say that the government was collecting this massive data on individuals and going through. I mean, we have court cases for people for drug offenses which are picked up from the NSA. The NSA goes and gives the Drug Enforcement Administration information, and they use would not let Bush fill a lot of vacancies that he had. Now they're just going to flood him with theirs.
And one could also argue that the Republicans are being punished for their civility, their past civility.
Yeah. Well, it's on so many different levels. It's just not the number of appointments that you've had, but it's also been the quality of appointments. One of the things that I show in Dumbing Down the Courts is that both parties have made it more difficult for the brightest nominees to get confirmed, but it's particularly been the Democrats who fought hardest against the brightest Republican nominees more than Republicans have fought against the brightest Democrats. And so, you know, the imbalance that you see in terms of the numbers is that understates the imbalance, because kind of the intellectual firepower that you're going to see kind of below the Supreme Court is basically the Democrats have many of the brightest people on the courts.
Yeah. All right, John, listen, thank you for taking the time, and let's think of some better news to talk about next time.
Yeah, no, it's a sad day for the country.
It certainly is. Thank you. John Lott, economist, columnist, author of Dumbing Down the Courts, How Politics Keeps the Smartest Judges Off the Bench. I don't know what to say. I mean, when you ask your guest, what could we do? And there's nothing we could do. And he says, yeah, it's pretty bad. And we're talking about the courts. We're talking about our way of life being changed, being dictated to by a radical leftist bench. A radical leftist bench stocked with radical leftist judges put in by a radical leftist president, and there's no check or balance to stop it now. In an unprecedented fashion, there'll be no way for the Senate to say, are you kidding me? This guy's out of his mind. This woman is wacko. This woman or this man does not comply with what the Constitution says. You can't do this. You can't do that. Who's going to stop them? The Democrats will vote in lockstep. They need 51, have a couple of stragglers, and they'll stock it like they've been stocking it. Folks, we are in desperate, desperate trouble. This is taking place. This is taking place before our eyes, but so much is taking place that we don't even see, we don't even know about. I keep telling you who's on Homeland Security assignments and Department of Homeland Security, I should say, who has assignments at DHS. Their policies, what they've written, what they've done, who they are, their radical beliefs. I mean, the Van Joneses of the world, holy mackerel. And how do you stop it? When the Senate process is blown up by the Democrats, what do you do? All right, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show. A-Rod, George Vesey, New York Times. Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.